For me, if I don't work 90 hours a week, or if I don't, if my work doesn't consume me as much, I would probably just feel purposeless. I think it's not specific about Raj, but in general about how I looked at things and how I like to work. And I think cold DMs work 100% of the time. I think AI is a space where you could now just get in and completely reimagine what already works with an AI layer. AI is something which is what Delta 4 is called in startup ecosystem. Delta 4 is basically when you enter that stage, you cannot come back. It's not necessarily that I was working an hour extra or 2 hours extra and actually bringing a large proportion of value to the table. It was just me, my exhausted self.
Hustle culture equates busyness with productivity, exhaustion with accomplishment, and most dangerously, self worth with professional success. What we learned today from our guest that hustle culture is not so bad if a proper balance is being done between your life, your work, and your health. So let's get to know more about this hustle culture from our guest, who is a recent internet sensation and the founder of SOSHALS, Mr. Kritarth Mittal. Hi, Pratap. I welcome you to the Crazy Careers podcast.
Hello, hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Absolutely good. So, sometime back, I read a headline which says, "Hustle culture left me hospitalized." Are these your words?
Yeah. I actually tweeted about it. I fell sick, then I recovered, and in a few days, I was like just pondering over it, like how my routine in general has impacted my health and how it has become sort of I have normalized it. I was just thinking about it and I tweeted about it, and sort of like media picked it up and it became a wildfire.
What had happened exactly? Why did you give such statement on Twitter?
So actually, like my routine has been really bad for a very long time. Like from like college days and even before that, I actually don't have a routine itself. I would go to sleep sometimes at 2 in the night or 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning. I didn't have a proper routine when to have a breakfast meal, because it varied based on the when I'm waking up, when I'm going to sleep, etc. So, and it was usually like that for a lot of years, and then I had normalized it. But then last year, what started to happen is, because I was not getting enough sleep and there was no fixed routine, I was constantly stressed as well. So I was constantly getting sick. Like after every few days, I would get sick, and the first few times, doctors sort of indicated or sort of asked me not to take a lot of stress or follow a routine, etc. But I had normalized it for so long that I just felt that okay, this fine, that is what doctors say. I did not pay much attention to it, but then I started seeing a pattern where I was constantly getting sick. I was not recovering very fast, and then this when I tweeted about this, I actually had to get hospitalized because I was not able to take medicines. I was constantly vomiting, and because of that, even if I take a medicine, I would not be able to give it enough time to actually work. So I had to get hospitalized, get some injections and everything. And then that was when it just hit me that I am in a hospital now. Like it's sort of going downhill, and I'm not seeing it properly. So yeah, I was giving it a lot of thought, and I was thinking how I can change my routine. And it is also time that I'm not in college anymore. So of course, there will be some decline. So I started to think about it. I just and then I posted about it.
Right, right. So, what do you do exactly? If you can tell us a bit about yourself.
So my background is of a software developer. I pursued my bachelor's in computer science, but now I like almost do everything because I'm a founder. Like the crux of it is that I'm a founder. I'm building a creator tech product. I'm also dabbling with a bunch of more ideas. But the thing is that when you are a creator, bootstrap creator with a very lean team, eventually you end up doing a lot more than just doing one core skill set that you have. I do marketing, I figure out sales, I would figure out pitching, just networking, everything along with the coding aspect. I would just do everything. So now I have worked with a bunch of clients for whom I was just doing content strategy, ghostwriting, social media, then a bunch of clients for whom I've done email marketing. So it's like overall marketing, brand building, product development. It's just sort of because I have done all these things for a lot of years now. It's just hard to say that I do this or I'm really good at this and that.
Right, right. So now when we get to know like what you exactly do, so when we have a lot of things on a table, so we actually have to prioritize it. So maybe your statement has gone viral because many of us can relate to it because it has become a life for many. Like hustle culture is not just culture; it is life for many. So that's why they could relate to it, and that's why like everybody tweeted and it has gone viral on media. So there is yes, and related to this, there is an ongoing debate on 90 hours work week going on. So what is your take on that?
So, I mean, the larger mass sentiment is usually against it, but I'm not for it or against it. I think it is very personal. So, for me, I enjoy working. I genuinely wake up, and the first thought I always have is just, what I want to do next or what is pending from the last day. And it is very natural, and there's no friction that I feel about it, so I just enjoy doing that, and every day I find a purpose in doing whatever I am doing. So I feel, for me, if I don't work 90 hours a week, or if I don't, if my work doesn't consume me as much, I would probably just feel purposeless. I would just feel that, because everybody said that there has to be some work life balance, or I need to go to parties or travel and meet people, etc. I would probably not find that kind of joy that I find while I build stuff, while I deliver, when a customer tells me that they like this, they would pay for this, etc. So I think it is very personal. For me, I would just normalize 90-hour work week. Of course, there you have to draw some safe boundaries. Everybody has to, but like, having a definitive opinion about whether you should or you should not, I think is very personal. If let's say you are somebody who enjoys family time, you find peace when you are just sitting idle, not thinking about work, then of course you should, instead of 70 hour, you should probably work 40-hour week. And if also you can make peace with the kind of downside of not working a lot. If you can work a lot, of course you can increase your throughput. If you can increase a lot of things, but then if you are okay with it, I think it's up to every individual, rather than making a fixed statement about how the larger audience should go about this. I think everybody should like make their own call and decide that in isolation of how who they are, what they want, rather than just reading on Twitter, or reading some argument over the internet and thinking, yeah, this makes sense.
Right, absolutely. It is very personal, and there should not be any specific timeline of work. Like it all depends on individual's perspective. Like we have a founder's mindset, we have an employee mindset, we have an employer mindset. So all the mindsets are different. So if a person is able to complete his work, let's say like within 40 hours a week, and rest of the time he wants to enjoy so that his productivity gets increased, then why not? And if somebody loves to work like 90 hours and do lesser party compared to that other person, then why not? I mean, it's very personal and varies from individual to individual. That's completely true. So you always wanted to be an entrepreneur?
I don't know. So I have always been an engineer by heart. Like when I was growing up, I would always just bring stuff from shops. Like let's say there are vendors who deal with electrical, electronics, etc., and like usually just thrown out machines. So the machine does not work, but there are some parts of it that still works. Let's say a motor, a simple motor, as simple as that still works, but the overall remote control car is useless. So I used to bring those equipments back home. I would go with my father, look at things, even if whatever toys, etc., I had, like let's say remote control car, I would open it up and then I would try to assemble it back again. And I've been very curious, so I would always just try to figure out why this is happening, what makes this work, what makes this doesn't work. It could be as simple as just our fairy lights that we put up on Diwali. If it is not working, I would not just throw it away. I would probably open the motherboard of the chip where you click to change the modes of the light, etc. So I would see that okay, there's a wire which is loose, and this is when I was like in third, fourth, fifth. So I have always been somebody who just wants to find problems and then fix it, or most of the times I'm just creating new problems because I want to know how it works. But then yeah, so eventually when I I had this habit since forever, but then when I started going to college and I started reading more about business in general, then I figured that okay, whatever I do, there's a commercial aspect to it. If I could solve this problem for somebody and they really need it, they would pay for it, and then I can make a career out of it. I don't really have to be just this one person who writes a lot of code or who does a lot of sales. I can just follow and do what I love, and it might just make money. So that is when I started to figure out okay, there's a business aspect to it, and there's a word called entrepreneur. In fact, I did not even know the word for a very long time. In fact, this word is now very frequently used for like since 2014, 15, I think. Before that, I just knew that I want to build things for people and see if people like it enough to pay for it. So yeah, I mean, I would say that I'm an engineer now that the commercial aspect is attached to it. I could say that I always wanted to be an entrepreneur as well.
Yeah, and both starts with E. I mean, you are an engineer and then now you are an entrepreneur and both starts with E. So, yes, for even though for a shorter span of time, but then you worked with the number one podcaster of the country, Mr. Shamani, and the Figuring Out team. So, how was your experience working with him and his team?
There were phases, like it was pretty cool in the beginning because it was actually super fun. I moved to Mumbai to work with Raj, so and I was staying with Raj under the same roof. So it was very close, and I could very closely see what he does, what kind of people he meets. And as a regular person, you would look at a lot of creators, influencers, unicorn founders via your screen, and you would feel that oh, this it would be so cool to meet them. And I was doing that almost like on a daily basis. I would there would be so many creators who would come to our house just to chill or just to celebrate some ceremony. There would be founders who would come to our podcast. So sometimes we would fly to their cities and sometimes they would come to our studio. So it was like very frequent that I was meeting all these cool people, and it was very fun because you would not expect to stumble upon such just sort of come across these people. So it was cool in the beginning, but then slowly it sort of started to feel a little monotonous because I feel when I started to work with Raj, we did not have like 100% clarity on how we want to move ahead or what do we want to do. Because of which I always felt that I'm not actually doing a lot. I enjoy working, and if I'm not working a lot, I just feel that this is not fun. I'm not seeing a point of it. And because Raj is usually so busy that he also struggles to find time to figure out okay, this one person is maybe not feeling fulfilled enough. Let's sort of find some work. So and then he also has a lot of dreams, so he would during my tenure of work, I felt that he because he wants to do a lot of things, he usually like jumps from one to another. So as an employer, it would be super cool to do a lot of things and achieve a lot of goals, but as an employee it would feel a little where am I exactly supposed to go. So yeah, I think it's not specific about Raj, but in general about how I looked at things and how I like to work. I think initially it was super fun, and by the end of it, it became a little monotonous. So I just discussed with Raj that maybe and also that because I had been with Raj for 6 months, I knew that I know enough to work with more creators now, and even like US based creators now instead of just sticking with India based creators who would probably pay much less than the US based creators. So I just decided that I want to move out. So, but overall, it was super fun for the first half. It was lot of learnings, lot of networking. I would just casually play. tennis with some big agency owner or a creator, and it would feel very normal.
Everything has a timeline. Actually, we they say no, like there is a specific time dedicated for everything what you do in your entire life, and you should also move at the right time to the next step to go ahead. So that's there. So, in one of your LinkedIn posts, I read that cold DM is actually something that helped you to reach out to Raj. So, how did that happen, and what is your take on cold DMs?
So how it happened was, so I was already a software developer at a company, and like I was decently paid. I did not have any concerns or insecurity around why I wanna switch careers, etc. It was just that I am a software developer, and tech comes easy to me, but it is not as exciting. I would not look forward to figuring out one new thing every day. It's just that if I want to build something, I want to do something, I can very easily figure it out. I can just ship it, and that's all. So I felt that I did not see myself doing tech for like next 10, 20 years. I do it, but not from a CTO perspective. I don't know, I'm still trying to figure out. But the thing is that I felt that I need to switch careers, and content is something that I used to find very interesting at the time, because I was active on Twitter. My threads used to go viral, so I was like developing a lot of interest in content. So I was already thinking that I should get into creator economies, either be by becoming a creator or working with creators, big creators, etc. So that was already on my mind, which is when I came across a post where Raj posted that he's looking for a certain kind of guy who is more of a generalist, not like a specialist, and he wants to hire something like that. And this was a 7-day old post. So I knew that because he has such huge distribution, I was sure that he would have gotten a lot of applications. By this time, he might have already finalized the person as well. But there was no harm. Like I was not just hanging on to this hope that I want to get in and I would get in. I knew that I was in a safe, secure job, and I'm exploring my options. So let's just send out an email. Why it doesn't hurt. So because of that sense of comfort and l- unseriousness, I would say, I wrote a very good email. I just wrote it very casually, like I'm his friend, and why he should get me on board, or why it would be a loss for him to not get me on board. So there was a lot of confidence that I was able to reflect. Otherwise, you're usually very conscious and worried that if what if I come across like this, and they'll just say no. So, and surprisingly, that's what exactly Raj liked. He liked the way I crafted the whole email. He liked that I had done enough research about him to bring relevant arguments in the conversation. So that's what he liked, and then he reached out that let's talk. We got on a call. We discussed what all kind of things that he wants me to do. I told him a bit about me, but this was earlier in, I think, August, September of 2021. So that was the time when I was not 100% sure that I want to move out. I was just thinking about it, and that time the pay, the compensation that I was expecting was very different than what Raj was offering. So I was like, maybe let's just let this go. Although I was very fascinated by the idea of switching industries and working with the best creator out there, etc. But because of the monetary difference, I was just like, let's hold on for a while. Let's see if I can make my mind around this, and then I let it go. But then surprisingly, within like 4 or 5 months, I think around February, March, Raj reached out to me again, and then he had a very clear roadmap. He had a good idea about what he wants me to do, and then he was willing to match my current pay at Nielsen. So that was when I just felt that now I'm going to make as much money as I'm already making at a tech job, and I get to switch careers, and I get to switch careers with a person who's already doing really well. It's technically not an experimentation. Like I know this is a shot. So I just I said yes. I moved to Mumbai because I had a notice period. I had to communicate with my manager also that I want to move right now. I want to start working right away, and my notice period is like for 2 months. So I would serve for 2 months, but I might be unavailable because and they were very supportive, because it's like a huge deal for a like 22, 23-year-old kid who discusses their ideas with their managers, and they knew that I want to do a lot of things and this is my step one, in that journey. So they were very supportive. So yeah, that is how it worked. And I think cold DMs work 100% of the time. By 100% of the time, they may not convert, but you can get the intent 100% of the times, because busy people, big people always read emails. There is no way around it. So if you did not get a reply, if you were not able to convert, that simply means that there was no from the day zero. If you would have gone through a formal or regular route, you would just have taken much longer to figure that out. So I think, and cold DMs is logically also very easy to understand why it is very good. There are like let's say there are 100 people studying in a class, and everybody is telling them that they have to make a resume, they have to build a project, etc. Which is important, but then 100 out of 195 are definitely going to follow that path because they are not trying to do something new, or they do not have the willingness to go that extra mile. So the five people who are left who are willing to go the extra mile, I'm sure that they would have much better odds at getting in touch with people they want to work with, or get the opportunities that others wouldn't. So I think cold DM helps, and then if you compound it with a good social media following distribution, like there has some authority, like you have some authority in the space, which is why let's say you have like 30,000 followers, not like huge 500,000, but if you have 20, 30,000 followers, then people start to recognize your name. So if I'm reaching out to X person and they don't exactly know me, but I post around similar audience, similar content, whatever this person, talks about or works in the industry they work in, they would feel that this name feels familiar. Or if they look into their network and ask somebody that I'm planning to hire, this is the guy. So there are very good odds that the other person would say ki, yeah, I think I have seen his tweet or I've gone viral. So I have connected to a lot of VCs like that. Once I had a feud with a VC, I was just sort of messing with him. I did not know he was a VC. But then when I moved to Mumbai, I was just at a meetup and this guy comes to me and says that you are that Kritarth Mittal, right, on Twitter. I was like, I don't know. I could not recognize him. And then he told me the whole story where I was messing with him and I was, telling him issues with his blog. Like he had a fintech blog, and I was telling him why it does not work from a content point of view. And I was, I should not have, but I was making fun of it. So that's where I was like, okay, people remember, people notice, and I have been not very serious about a bunch of things that I do on social media. So let's be a little more civil when I go on Twitter next time. So yeah, people have a good memory when it comes to just personas, if not specific names. So
Right.
I think that helps. Cold DM 100% of the time work, and if you have some credibility that you can reflect via your social presence or let's say your resume also, then you would definitely get a reply. Even if it is no, usually people would just reply.
Right, right. I would also like to let our audience know that we reached out to you through Cold DM. Yeah. So, yes, many aspiring entrepreneurs are watching us today. So, considering your experience in entrepreneurship, so would you like to give step by step pointers for a person to start a company and also to sustain it?
So a lot of people ask me this, and I have always said that I'm not as successful yet. So I don't know if I should be advising people on how to become an entrepreneur, but I can probably discuss the mistakes I did. Like I made some mistakes, and then after some time I figured out that this is not how it is done, or this is probably not the best way to do it. So I can probably discuss about it and people can avoid it. I think the very first thing that people usually do is they, now that being a founder has become something of like it is cool to be a founder now. So I think being fascinated by the idea of being perceived as cool, rich, etc. I think that is first very misleading, because first of all, you don't become rich, you don't instantly become popular, and it is very very hard. So you would probably spend 2 years trying to do something to make sure that everybody thinks you are rich or cool or whatever, and it is so hard that by the end of 2 years you would just question everything. And I've talked to a lot of people who are like this, so I know that this happens. So probably not a good idea to just become a founder because everybody thinks it's cool. Second is, it is very natural that whatever idea we stumble upon, will probably have a lot of gravity towards it. We'll feel that it is very important, very critical, people would pay for it, etc. Usually, so that one, the ideas are already out there and even the products are already out there. It is very, very, very hard to come up with a new idea, new product altogether, because it's a huge world. Everybody would have so many thoughts and everybody would have so many ideas that somebody would have just taken it away and built something around it. So whatever solution you have thought of, there is a very, very good chance that that solution already exists. So it is not new. Second, even if it is new or if it exists and you have come up with a better solution, it's not always that people would pay for it. And when you are trying to be a founder or when you are trying to build a business, the end goal is to actually make money. You are not planning to run an NGO or some open source product where you are not expecting returns. You are just doing it for the community. If you want to do that, that is great. But if you are trying to be a founder because you want, to build something, make money, become rich and famous and whatever, then being very critical about the product you are trying to make, the customer's perception about it, and also the overall demographics and geolocation related understanding of this product. Because if you build something for X country that finds it important but does not have the purchase power to get it, then no matter how good your product is, it would not sell. And the same way, if you build something really good but people would just pay, $10 and it is affordable, but then you have to think that to get $1,000 you would have to convince 100 people to buy it. And if you assume a 10% conversion rate, that means you are talking to 1,000 people to just make $1,000. So I think being critical about this unit economics of your product, how much, yeah. So again, so that is what you made after talking to these many people, but you have already spent a lot of money to build this product, to market this product, etc. So I think having that unit economics, core understanding of this unit economics is important. Third is, usually whenever we have ideas, we go to our friends and family and we talk about it. But there's always a bias at play. I would always want to encourage and support somebody around me, like in my first, second degree connection, if they come to me with an idea. Because I want them to win, I want them to pursue whatever they want to do. But that does not mean it is a good idea. That does not mean my friend is actually experienced enough to actually advise me on whether I should do this or not. They just do it, they just find it very hard to criticize me. They would always want to appreciate me, and that puts me in a cycle of thinking that this is very cool, this is very good product, etc. So it is always a good idea to discuss with some industry expert or somebody who does not have a bias for you. So they would just tell you things like they are. And if let's say you are talking to a customer persona, that this is the person who would actually use this product, not a friend, just a random person. Second step is just to ask how much would they pay for it, and if they're willing to pay for it right now. Because usually strangers would also not want to criticize you on the first go. They would just say that, yeah, this looks cool, very good, etc. But when it comes to actual business, they may not pay. So if you can make them pay today, before let's say even before the product is ready, that is very strong validation. That means that somebody is willing to pay for whatever you have built or you are actually going to build. So there's something that I'm working on right now. I've not posted anything about it, but I mean, this may become a very good story, let's say 12 months down the line. So what happened is, I came across an idea and I did not have the time to build it, but I knew that AI has become very mature in terms of, building prototypes, basic designs, etc. So I used an AI tool to build a prototype. I used it for 2 3 days and I built the complete platform as a prototype, and I pitched it to a prospect customer, which is a B2B merchant, not a small customer. It's a merchant. So I pitched to them, they liked it. I followed up 2 or 3 times, and then finally I converted them and they have agreed to pay an advance like by next week. So it basically, what is happening right now is, I don't have a product, I don't have a team, there's no brand recall, anything, but the product is so good, and with the help of AI, I was able to build this prototype to reflect what it can do. It was just convincing enough for them to pay a 50% advance upfront. even without a product right now. I told them that the product would be ready by March or April because I would have to spend time building it. But if you sort of if I lock you in right now, this would be how much it would cost. So I think actually taking money out of your customer's pocket is the final win. If you can do it and keep them happy, like that's what every founder should focus on.
Also, one should have proper motive and courage to face failure. Like, for example, ideas can fail anytime because since the economy is changing, a lot of like external factors are there. So it can change anytime. So you should have that courage to either pivot your idea to switch off to some other ideas.
For sure, it
So
is very, very hard. In fact, when you are just building something for not very long, just 6 months also, you are so attached to it that even if you start to feel like there's no scope, you would find it very hard to let go because it's something that you've built from scratch and there's so much attachment towards the product and the vision that you've already seen for yourself and your product. It's very hard to let go. That is what I have experienced.
so what is your startup is all about and how has been your journey so far?
So the one that I already have is a creator tech product. So it's called Socials, SOSHALS. So Socials is basically what we are trying to build is an AI co-pilot for social media for all the busy founders, influencers, social media manager. And the underlying thought is super simple that everybody now understands the importance of having a social media distribution, having an audience, and everybody wants to do it. But the problem is everybody is not a creator or an influencer with a very core understanding of how what audience wants or how the platforms work, what the algorithms really are expecting out of you. So it becomes incredibly hard and expensive for about 97% of the people out there to be active on social media and actually monetize that audience, not just like try very hard to build one. So socials is supposed to be that one stop platform for you to do everything that you do on social media. It could be as simple as building your basic website or landing page that talks about you to launching your own store. You can sell your services, you can sell your products, etc. Then you can build your email audience. So usually it is said that you should have your own email list of your prospects, customers, audience, etc. So you can build your email list, you can receive tips from your fans, you can. So basically whatever you do as a creator or as an aspiring creator, you would be able to do all of that in a single dashboard rather than jumping tools or hiring agencies to do that for you. And because AI has become so much more capable, it has become much easier to automate a lot of these things as well.
Right.
At the end of the day, a creator or an aspiring creator is only focusing on what they do best, which is that is creating content. And the rest of the administrative work or rest of the management is something that socials can take care of. It is just a sort of your influencer manager. That's it. uh, so yeah, that's what socials is all.
Right. So, which is that sector or area that is still untapped and any aspiring entrepreneur can look it at as an option?
As far as I know, like there are so many industries I'm sure people don't get to know about. Like there are a lot of businesses which are making thousands of crores and we don't know about it because they are not in the public eye. For example, defenses. There are companies who would sell to Navy, Air Force, etc. They work with the governments and they have huge budgets, but it's not in public purview. So usually we don't get to know about it, but if it is something that people like, they can probably get into it. Otherwise, the industries that are obvious, sort of in front of our eyes and in sort of a premature stage right now, I think that is AI. AI has just started to become, the hot thing. It has always been around, but now the accessibility is like, 10,000x better. So now everybody can just anybody randomly can pick. So the prototype I mentioned, I did not write a line of code. I just sort of prompted all the way through. So I think AI is a space where you could now just get in and completely reimagine what already works with an AI layer. So AI is there, then I think blockchain is something which has always been controversial because of the crypto crashes and everything. But the problem is that people have not understood the core technology yet. They have just looked at the crypto side of things and associated the overall blockchain with just the finance aspect. But blockchain as a technology, as a fundamental, uh, you know, piece of technology is very important, and I think is very good. So the markets are really rough and it's very hard to probably get support, but if you like the idea or the thought behind blockchain as a concept, I think a blockchain could be a good industry. Otherwise, the hot industries are EV. There's so much scope right now, and in fact we are sitting in India. India is one of those nations which receives the most sunlight throughout the year. So we are best suited to actually build something which can harness the solar energy. So solar is something that can do really well. Space exploration is now booming. There are a lot of Indian companies who have started to come up and who have started to. Firefly is one of them, who launched their own satellites to do. I'm not. I might be a little hazy on the details, but I think it is for thermal imaging and spectral imaging of farms and everything. So you could actually just build your own drone fleet. I mean, if we talk about industries, there is so much happening right now, and if you have enough exposure to all of this, all of it is very fascinating. It is just very hard to actually pick one and just follow one of the industries.
And we never know like what we are thinking is trending now. After 5 years, suddenly, once we start building it right now, after 5 years, the trend would really change. Something else will come. So it's
See, that is the point. So if today I feel that solar is going to be, let's say I think that solar is going to be the next big thing. I start today. So 3 years later, there might be just a new technology to harness that solar power better. But if I am already a company, I've already established my grounds, then I can just quickly adapt and buy that new technology and start improving my existing infrastructure. If I start 3 years from now thinking that solar would, then there would be a lot more players. It would be a lot more harder to penetrate. So, and you cannot actually, ever anticipate how the markets will shift. But some patterns are common. Some things are very easy to look at. That, let's say, AI. So AI is something which is what Delta 4 is called in startup ecosystem. Delta 4 is basically when you enter that stage, you cannot come back. It's just very, very hard to go back. So once I, as a person, has started to use ChatGPT, I cannot go back. I cannot just wait to go through a lot of documentation, read a lot of papers, watch videos just to find a very small answer. I just know that ChatGPT can give it to me in 10 seconds.
yeah.
So there are delta for products and industries which as a matter of fact would be there. Just it might keep changing its shape and speed, etc. So as a developer or as a founder, you have to just match the pace of the industry. That's it.
So what will be your piece of advice to startup founders to keep a balance between their life, work, and health?
This is because this has come out of personal experience. I think everybody should take my word for it. It is very important. It is a non-negotiable to draw some safe boundaries. So because I have been that person who did not believe in work-life balance, I had been very against, and in fact, I would argue with my friends who would just say that take some time off. Why are you always working? You don't have time for us, etc. I would argue with them because I felt this is what I want to do. What is the harm in just sleeping an hour late or waking up an hour early or whatever? But then, like my post also said, that there are some short-term consequences and there are some long-term consequences. Like your sleep cycle, your sleep pattern, food patterns, etc., govern a lot of aspects of your biological health, your sexual health, your overall mental state of mind as well. And this all I learned after I fell sick a bunch of times. I was hospitalized, and then I started, developing interest in this, and I started reading about all of this. So I think one, caffeine consumption, because you are always in this adrenaline state of mind, you want to keep fueling it. So you would, and also it is perceived cool also that I had four cups of coffee. I did that, so I know it is the case. Mugs of coffee or whatever. So I think even though you did not want it, but just because you had coffee, your brain will not want to sleep, because that's just how caffeine works. So you would feel that I'm very active, etc., but actually your body is getting exhausted, and you would feel probably late in the night when the overall effect wears off. So I think eliminating all the substances, or at least cutting down on the substances that are bad for health, is the easiest way to first fix your health. It could be cutting down sugar. So like, I don't have sugar anymore. Coffee, I used to have a lot of cups on a daily basis. Now I just have one, max two, and then if I know that this is a second cup, I would just make a very small one. So being very conscious about what you are eating or drinking is the easiest way to fix health. And then there are some other basic, like, you can drink a lot of water, you can just try to go on to sleep on time. But otherwise, the crux of it is that what I have experienced is, when you want to neglect all of this, you would feel that you are making an hour extra to work or to, be more productive. But after I've changed all this routine and everything, I just felt that it is all the same. It's not necessarily that I was working an hour extra or 2 hours extra and, actually bringing a large proportion of value to the table. It was just me, my exhausted self, trying to push a little more. Now that I try to sleep on time, I try to, sort of get out, talk to people, etc. I think it just brings a new form of energy for you, where you feel more motivated because you spoke to some person who's very ambitious. So all these factors compounded increases your productivity anyway. So all in all, I think everybody should just not wait for doing things like me and getting sick before they realize. I think they should consciously make some efforts to just fix their routine, sleep cycle, etc., and then the work does not get impacted. Honestly, I just feel equally productive, if not more. I think I'm still equally productive as before.
Right. Right. My family would be really happy to hear this advice because I am a hardcore coffee lover. I mean, I can say I'm an addict to coffee, but yes, I'll take this advice. And also, there is a study which shows that when you have a lot of things to do and you're doing everything simultaneously, the productivity is less. But if you prioritize and do one by one, the productivity actually improves. So, you can call that as a hustle culture, right? I mean, doing everything, but doing one by one, prioritizing.
There are a lot of frameworks also, how to do things or not to do things. Like, there are Pomodoro technique. There's this grid where you figure out what is the most important and what is most urgent, and accordingly you sort of select what you want to do first and what you want to do. And a lot of frameworks are like that, which helps you prioritize things better and then plan out your day. And it works for some people. So yeah.
And yes, and it is hard to believe, but when we grow, we are not same when we were 25 years, and we will not be same when we will be 35 years. So it's basically how we are understanding our body and then working accordingly. So that's very important. All right. I mean, it was really an insightful conversation with you, and we got to know a lot: startup culture, cold DMs, and how to keep a balance between health and work. Thank you so much for giving us your time, and we wish you luck for your future. Thank you.
Thank you to you. All the best to you too. I see that, shot a bunch of podcasts. So in my conversations, I felt that you are very driven and you have always been trying to figure out when, what is the best time, what set of questions should be there, etc. So I think it is a very good quality that regardless of your distribution size, you are just very focused about it and very well prepared about it as well. So all the best to you. I hope this becomes that big creator entity which then gets discussed in some other podcast.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.